So when we have problems involving geometry, a lot of times we'll need a formula. So the area of a triangle, that formula is A equals 1/2 base times the height. And the area of a rectangle is length times width. Okay, so those are the formulas we're going to use in the next two videos. So our first one is a triangle. It says find the base and height of a triangle whose base is 4 inches more than 6 times its height and has an area of 456 square inches. Okay, so I might want to draw a triangle. There's a triangle. When we're talking about the base and the height, you have to draw like a little height here. And so it goes from one point in the triangle and it drops to be a perpendicular to the opposite side. Okay, so this then is the base. So my little square here means that that's a right angle. And then this dotted line is the height. Okay, so the area of a rectangle is 1/2 the base times the height. That's the standard formula we use. All right, now in our problem it says the base is 4 inches more than 6 times the height. So if I make the height h for height, then the base, so down here my base is going to be 4 more, so something plus 4 more than 6 times the height. So you really have to stop and think about it so that you can get these right. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Now my formula is going to say the area, which I happen to know is 456. Oh, pooh. 456. And then my base is 6h plus 4. And then my height is just h. Okay, so that's how it goes into the formula. They tell me the area. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. The 1/2 is part of the formula. The base we said was going to be 6h plus 4. And then the height, that's what we're going to try to solve for here. Now, when it says 456 square inches, sometimes this throws students. The square inches is just a unit of measure. It's how you measure area by the square foot or the square inch or the square yard. If you go buy carpet at Home Depot or something, they're going to sell it to you by the square foot because they tell you how much area it's covering. So if you're worried about that word square, it's really just attached to inches as a measurement, a unit of measurement. Okay? So there we go. Now, how do we want to do this problem? Well, I want to do it the easiest way. And so I think the easiest way is to distribute this 1/2 in here. Because, see, I have some nice even numbers there. So 1/2 times 6h, that would be 3h. And then 1/2 times the 4 would be 2. I still need the parentheses, though, because I'm going to have to multiply by that h on the other side. Okay? Now, you don't have to distribute it to the other h. And you don't have to do it this way. You could multiply both sides by 2 and get rid of that 1/2, but it's going to make your numbers bigger, but, that's okay. This is the way I chose to do it. You might choose a different way, and that's fine. I love to see students do things their own way as long as it's correct. Okay, so now we're distributing that h. So I get 3h squared plus 2h, and all of that's equaling 456. Okay, so now it's a quadratic equation. We're getting there. We need to set it to 0, so I'm going to make this 3h squared plus 2h minus 456. Now, I don't know a lot about 456. I could try doing this with the AC method. So I'd have to go 3 times 456. So I'm going to pull out my calculator. 3 times 456. And I get 1368. And then I need to add to be 2. So I want it, that's a negative, by the way, a negative 1368. Gosh, what goes into 1368? Well, I need the numbers to be fairly close together. So I'm thinking it's probably like, I don't know. Let's see what the square root of that is. It won't be an exact, but it might give us a good approximation. All right. So it's saying maybe 36 goes in. I know 3 goes in. I know 2 goes in. So, you know, I could do that. I could break it into primes. I know it's 3 times 456. I know 2 goes into that. 228. And then I know 2 goes into that. In fact, 4 goes into that. 57 times. I'm kind of getting somewhere now. So I decided to go with some prime factors here. 57, 3 goes into that, doesn't it? Oh, 3 goes into 57, 19 times. Okay. So I have some numbers here, some prime factorizations. I've got 2 3s, 3 2s. You know, and if this were your problem and you're like, how am I going to do this? I don't know what goes into 1368. I don't know either. That's why this is going to be a long video. Okay, so what do I want to combine? Well, let's see. I could go, what's 8 times 3? 24. I don't think that's going to work. Let's try a 38. 2 times 19 is 38. And then I have 4 times 9, which is 36. I like the looks of that. So I was better off with my 36 going into 1368. So I'm rearranging the prime factors to try to figure out what numbers this is. It might have been easier just to use the calculator, and I was pretty close with my 36, right? So 36 times 38 is 1368, and the difference is 2. So that's exciting. Unfortunately, doesn't tell us quite enough. So 3h squared. We're going to need the negative on the 36. So minus 36h plus 38h minus 456. Now this should work out because we found the numbers. So that's the beauty of the AC method. We know it's got to be 38. Now, how many times does 38 go into 456? Well, it better be 12, but let's double check it. Yep, it's 12. Oh, I have a little mistake, don't I? I have an extra h in there running around. All right, let's get that. And I'm short. Well, let me just redo that part. It should have been 3h times h minus 12. This is a hard problem. Okay, now we get h minus 12, and we get 3h plus 38. So that's how it factors. And so I have some good news here in a second. We're going to get, by the way, these were all zeros equaling that. So we get 0 equals h minus 12, or 0 equals 3h plus 38. Kind of have it written backwards. Now, watch what happens on the right. If I subtract the 38 and I divide by 3, I get this negative number for h. Well, that's not going to be true. You can't have a negative height, so that's not going to work. But the other one, I get h equaling 12, and that looks reasonable. Okay, so it says the height is 12. I'll write that down. Height of our triangle is 12, and you should put inches on that because it's going to be inches. It's a linear measurement, the height. Now, what was the base? The base was 6 times the height, which now is 12, plus 4. So 6 times 12 is 72. So I'm getting a base of 76 inches again. So the base, 76 inches. That was a hard problem because of the numbers, but, you know, sometimes we have to deal with tricky problems. That was a long video.